Welcome to the channel. So we have the Anbernic RG Cube strapped into the brightness check apparatus, and we are going to see how the screen of the RG Cube compares to the other handhelds I've tested. I've got a lot of them, so let's turn out the lights and measure our screen brightness, and we'll be right back. So, after testing, the Anbernic RG Cube comes in at 245 lux. And if you're interested in the methodology, I actually talked about that a bit in my first brightness video, which I will link in the description. So if you're interested, you can have a look down there. But basically, I'm not reporting nits because of the kind of meter I have. So these actual numbers, the 245 here, is going to be kind of dependent on exactly how the testing is done. But since I do the testing for all these handhelds in the same way, we can at least get an idea of the relative screen brightness. Speaking of relative screen brightness, I have added the RG Cube to my gigantic chart of handhelds, and let's take a look at the overall results. So here is the latest handheld brightness chart on all the devices I've tested so far. So we can see the Anbernic Cube comes in at kind of, let's say it's a reasonably comparable to most of the modern emulation handhelds. I would not take a small difference in my measurement to be really indicative of anything, because there's going to be some variation in the results just due to the limitations of me clamping the meter down and getting things exactly the same distance between the sensor and the screen. So I don't really take the small difference here between, say, the Cube at 245 and the Odin 2 at 242 to mean anything. On the right hand side, I've got everything normalized to my old Hannah Montana PlayStation Portable 3000 model, which is 100% here. As you can see, the vast majority of modern systems have way brighter screens than the PlayStation Portable, which is why we like to play on some of these modern systems. The old screens, partly because of their age and partly because of their design, are just harder to see things on. So, but you can see that a lot of the current emulation handhelds come in at around the same range, which is not surprising. So if you're switching from one of these to the other, you're not going to really see a market increase in the brightness anyway. Although the RG28XX is kind of low on the brightness scale. It's actually more like an old system than a new one. And people have complained about the RG28XX having somewhat dim of a screen, and certainly that's came out in the measurements. So, of course, we have something like the Steam Deck, which is way brighter than everything else. The OLED model, anyway. I don't have an original LCD one to test, but I suspect it probably comes in closer to the other ones, because here's the Ally right here, kind of in the middle of the pack. Now, of course, comparing everything to the original PlayStation or PlayStation Portable, all these numbers look huge. So I have a version of the chart that has things kind of normalized based on the Odin 2, which is probably a pretty good reference point. And as you can see, a lot of them cluster around this range, around the same brightness as the Odin 2. There's some outliers like the RG556 with its rather bright OLED screen. It comes in at being significantly brighter, and you can notice this when you're just looking at them, than the Odin 2 does. We have the Steam Deck OLED, which of course is like way brighter than all the other devices I've tested. And of course the Cube comes in at around the same brightness as the Odin 2 does. Now, just so you know, of course, the Cube has a smaller screen than a lot of these devices, but the way I test is I look at a square inch of the screen and I cover everything else, so we can see kind of controlling for screen size how bright everything is. So we have a good bit of handhelds here to take a look at. As I get more, I will add to the chart. But for now, here is the complete chart I have. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you happen to enjoy it, leave a like. If you want to see more of this handheld gaming content, subscribe to the channel. And if you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them in the comments section. And I will see you next video.